Welcome to session 9 of Explore the Bible. Today we're looking at Romans chapter 10, a little section right here in the middle, a great passage, one that's used often when we share the gospel, verses 9 and 10. And so we're going to look at this passage and see what it has to say to us about what it means to believe, what it means to confess our faith, what it means to be saved, and how that occurs in our life. And we'll start with verse 5 in this passage, where Paul says, since Moses writes about the righteousness that is from the law, the one who does these things will live by them. Now, in essence, what he's saying here is, if you want to keep the law, then you've got to keep all of it completely, and you're going to be judged based on how you've done that. Now, I don't know about you, but, well, actually, I do know about you. Now, I don't know personally about you, but I know that all of us have sinned. That's what we've seen already in chapter 3, right? We've all sinned and fall short. And we know that in chapter 6, the wages of our sin is death, that we're going to die because of it. We are going to suffer consequences because of our sin. And that this is what this, if you want righteousness that comes from the law, that's what you've got to do. That's what you've got to have, okay? I don't know about you. I don't want that righteousness that comes from the law. I can't meet that righteousness. None of us can. We don't have any chance here, right? So then he says in the next couple of verses, which we're not going to look at, but sometimes it's confusing. It says, who will go up to heaven, or who will go down into the abyss? In essence, to say, Paul says, you don't have any chance. You can't solve your own problem. You have no ability to do the work that only Christ can do. You have no ability. There's no expectation, no responsibility, because you can't do what only Christ can do. So, but here's how salvation comes. If you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For one who believes with the heart resulting in righteousness, and one confesses with the mouth resulting in salvation. Here's what you do. Confess and believe. These are not two events. This is one event, two sides of a coin maybe. Confess and believe. Confess with your mouth, believe in your heart, two sides of one coin. But this is what has to happen. If you want to be saved, this is what you must do. Confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord. Believe in your heart God raised him from the dead, which we've talked about. We look at 1 Corinthians 15. The resurrection of Christ from the dead is absolutely the centerpiece of all of history, and it is the one thing that sets Christianity apart from every other religion, that historical event required for salvation, because if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, then we have no chance either, and his death was meaningless. So if we confess with our mouth, because when we speak out of our mouth, the reason we confess is by saying it out loud, we make sure we clarify it. We proclaim it. It becomes more real to us. You see, you cannot be a silent follower of Christ. You're going to have to confess with your mouth. There are no silent Christians, right? And this confession is Jesus is Lord, which obviously, writing to the Romans, the complete opposite of the statement required of Romans to say Caesar is Lord. You would say, no, Jesus is Lord. This is my proclamation. Jesus is Lord. And you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead. The resurrection of Christ gives the cross significance. If Jesus doesn't rise from the dead, then he's just like everybody else that died on a cross, right? The reason we know his death was significant, is because he rose from the dead on Sunday. And this is what we do. This is all we can do, is to believe in our heart. That is faith, right? Sincere, genuine, childlike, simple faith. I believe that Jesus rose from the dead. I believe that in my heart, with all my heart. I believe Jesus rose from the dead. I confess him as my Lord. He says, if you do that, you will be saved. You will be saved. You will find salvation if you will do those two things. He says, because with the heart you believe, faith in the heart resulting in righteousness. Here's how righteousness comes. Not by keeping the law, but by believing in your heart who Jesus is and what he did. That's how righteousness comes. It is this gift that comes. This is how you become righteous, not by doing acts which you cannot do, fulfilling some standard which you'll never reach. You become righteous by believing in who Jesus is and receiving his righteousness. Confessing with the mouth results in salvation. We need salvation because we're not righteous. We need it because we can't save ourselves. Just do this. Do Romans 10, 9, and 10. Believe in your heart, confess with your mouth, and you'll be saved. That's how you become righteous, okay? 4, he says, the scripture says, everyone who believes on him will not be put to shame, since there is no distinction between Jew and Greek, because the same Lord of all richly blesses all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. I just underlined these words, everyone and all. You see how many times they show up? Paul's emphasis here is the universal access to salvation for everyone, all of those people. There is no distinction, he says, between Jew and Greek. Everyone has access to this salvation. You believe in him, you will not be put to shame. You will not be let down at the end. You will not go, oh, why did I do that? That'll never happen. Because you call on the name of the Lord, you will be saved. Look at this. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord, no qualifications, no limits. Everyone believes and confess. That's what to call on the name of the Lord is, to believe and confess, right? You will be saved. Boy, there's a certainty. There's a promise. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. You call out to him, you will be saved. He blesses all of those who call on him. How does he bless them? He blesses them with salvation. You call on the Lord, you will be saved. And how can they call on him they have not believed in? And how can they believe without hearing about him? And how can they hear without a preacher? And how can they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. If this is for everyone, if it is truly for all, if there really is no distinction, then shouldn't we let them know? How are they going to believe in somebody they've never heard of? And how are they going to hear unless someone tells them? And how is someone going to tell them unless they're sent? Well, you know what? We're all sent. We're all sent. So how beautiful are the feet, this great quotation, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. It's true. You're searching, you're longing for good news. You're longing for hope, for salvation, for freedom, for joy, for forgiveness, for mercy, for grace. You're longing for belonging. You're longing for purpose. You're longing for life. Somebody tells you about Jesus, that's good news. That's good news. And you're happy to see him, aren't you? Look, we cannot keep to ourselves that which is meant for everyone. We can't do it. We've got to share it with others. So be one who takes the gospel, the simple gospel. It's not complicated. We've seen it laid out over these weeks in the book of Romans, and even here, the simple act of just believing and confessing, two sides of one coin. You believe in your heart, God has raised him from the dead. You confess with your mouth, Jesus is Lord. You will be saved. That's simple. Share that message with somebody this week. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. God bless you as you do the work that God's called you to. Subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube. And we'll be happy to share even more with you. God bless. We'll see you next time.